If I told you that there is a temple carved downward from the top of a mountain, not a single brick, not a single blueprint, and to this day, no one on Earth truly understands how it was built, would you believe it? Welcome to Logic Relic, where structures that defy both time and reason are recounted through stories whispered by history. Today, we will explore Kailasa, an ancient temple deep within the rock of Ellora, India, a place that leaves even modern engineers in awe. Chapter 1. The Temple Without a Blueprint. Imagine you're given a task. Carve a solid mountain of rock over 30 meters high into a complete temple from top to bottom, without a single misaligned angle, without a pre-drawn plan, without machinery, and without the chance to start over. Could you do it? Then who created the Kailasa Temple? In the Maharashtra region of western India, nestled within the dark gray basalt cliffs, lies a structure unlike any marvel humanity has ever created. It wasn't built layer by layer like the pyramids of Giza. It wasn't pieced together like Roman temples. It wasn't carved into the rock face like Petra. The temple, named Kailasa, was created by chiseling away an entire mountain from the top down, revealing an architectural masterpiece as if it stepped out of the imagination of the gods. Picture this. Over 400,000 tons of steel-hard basalt rock were removed, not to build but to liberate the form of a temple hidden within. Every dome, pillar, and corridor was unveiled, using only chisels and hammers, with almost no margin for error. The most astonishing part? This structure was completed in less than 2 decades. We're talking about the 8th century AD. No laser compasses, no 3D blueprints. Not even a single official record from the builders has survived. Everything we know about the Kailasa Temple comes from what remains in the stone. According to legend recounted in the epic Kathakalpatru, a queen fell gravely ill and prayed to Lord Shiva for salvation. In return, she vowed to build a temple dedicated to him if she survived. King Krishna, her husband, agreed to construct the temple, but the queen imposed a strange condition. The temple had to be completed before she could eat her first meal after recovery. Unable to break a sacred vow, the king summoned the finest architects, among them the legendary Kailasa of the Rashtrakuta dynasty. Kailasa chose an unprecedented method. Instead of building from the ground up, he would carve from the sky down. This way, the roof would be completed first, allowing the queen to see and swear that the temple was finished, even if the lower parts were still incomplete. That's the story. But setting aside the myth, we're still faced with a question as solid as stone. How could someone carve a massive rock from top to bottom, without a single error, without blueprints, and complete it in just 18 years? 400,000 tons of stone, and an unsolved puzzle. According to James Ferguson, one of the first Western archaeologists to study the Kailasa Temple in the 19th century, the amount of rock removed to create the temple was at least 200,000 to 400,000 tons. That's equivalent to about 40,000 modern-day trucks. Assuming the workers toiled continuously for 18 years without a single day off, they would have needed to remove over 60 tons of rock daily, using only hammers, chisels, and human strength. Even more astonishing, there's no evidence that the rock was transported away from the site. No cart tracks. No massive stone dumps. It all seems to have vanished into thin air. And let's not forget, this isn't a simple cave. The Kailasa Temple has 2 main levels, nearly 200 pillars, numerous small chambers, intricately detailed mythological carvings, and a central shrine with acoustics resembling a theater. Every element had to be precisely calculated from the very first strike into the rock, because a single mistake at the top would misalign the entire structure below, ruining the project. According to a 3D survey by the University of Pune, India, the structural deviation in the main framework is only about 5 centimeters, a near-perfect precision for the crude tools of the Middle Ages. What perplexes researchers most isn't the scale or technique, it's the absolute silence of history. No inscription names the architect. No draft designs exist. No construction records appear in the Rashtrakuta chronicles. No reliable oral or written accounts from the builders remain. A masterpiece of this magnitude, and no one claimed credit by carving their name into the stone? Some scholars, like Debala Mitra, former director of the Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, suggest that Hindu tradition discouraged individuals from claiming credit for sacred structures. Yet, the complete absence of technical records still baffles Western archaeologists. So, who really built the Kailasa Temple? In her work The Hindu Temple, 1975, scholar Stella Kramrisch argues that the Kailasa Temple could not be the work of a single generation. It is the pinnacle of knowledge accumulated from civilizations before, executed with absolute faith in mathematics, spirituality, and sacred geometry. Graham Hancock, the investigative journalist known for theories about forgotten civilizations, called the Kailasa Temple a living proof that we are missing a very long chapter in human history. And once again, the initial question echoes in silence. If this was a structure created solely with stone, hands, and willpower, who were those craftsmen? And what truly drove them to create something beyond reason? We've seen the surface of the Kailasa Temple, but from the next chapter, we'll dive deeper into each impossible structure, each calculation ahead of its time, each enigma hidden in the stone. And perhaps, we won't just be looking at a temple, but at a structure built to outlast time and challenge the very definition of architecture. Chapter 2, Carving Down or Carving Time. There are structures that make people marvel, but there are structures, like the Kailasa Temple, that make us question the very concept of time. When standing at the foot of the Kailasa Temple and looking up at the massive stone roof casting its shadow across the sky, people often gasp at its grandeur. But take a few steps back, place your hand on the monolithic walls carved from top to bottom, and start questioning the construction process, and all gives way to doubt. Not doubt that the temple is real, but doubt that humans in the Middle Ages, with the tools of that era, could have created this. Modern archaeologists estimate that to create the space of the Kailasa Temple, at least 200,000 to 400,000 tons of basalt rock were completely removed from the mountain. Source: History of Indian and Eastern Architecture, James Ferguson, 1876. With the construction timeline recorded in the Rashtrakuta Chronicles as spanning from 757 to 775 AD, or 18 years, let's break down the numbers to see something absurd. For 100,000 tons of rock divided by 18 years equals 200 tons/year. That's about 60 tons/day with no days off. To put it in perspective, a modern heavy-duty dump truck can carry about 15 tons. That means 4 truckloads of rock would have needed to be removed from the mountain every single day for 18 years straight, not counting the time for detailed carving, sculpting statues, refining acoustics, or crafting the roof. The question is, how did they carve so quickly? And where did the rock go? Between 2010 and 2015, a team of archaeologists and engineers from the Indian Institute of Technology, IIT, Pune, in collaboration with the Archaeological Survey of India, ASI, conducted a 3D modeling of the temple's interior. Their findings? They confirmed that at least 300,000 tons of rock were removed, and curiously, there are no traces of a massive stone dump around the Ellora site. No worn cart tracks from hauling. No records of material transport. No debris field large enough to account for the removed rock. Was the rock pulverized? But in the 8th century, there was no mechanical grinding technology. Was it secretly transported? But how do you hide 400,000 tons of rock? As one Indian archaeologist put it, if they truly carved the rock here, the evidence isn't on the ground. It's in the fact that there's no evidence at all. The Kailasa Temple is one of the rare ancient structures built using a cutout method from top to bottom. Imagine, you can't make a mistake. If you miscut at level 1, you can't fix it at level 2. There's no such thing as tear down and rebuild. The entire structure, including the domed roof, arched gateways, dragon-carved pillars, the central courtyard and surrounding corridors, over 200 statues of gods, beasts, and battle scenes, all had to be pre-programmed in the minds of the craftsmen or through an extremely precise measurement system with no documented records. This technique required a 3D blueprint in advance, a comprehensive design visualizing space in both vertical and horizontal axes, what we now call CAD, computer-aided design. But in the 8th century, there was no software beyond human imagination. So, what technique did they use? 3 popular hypotheses have been proposed by scholars and alternative researchers. A transcendent accumulation of prior generations. Some scholars, like Stella Kramrisch, The Hindu Temple, 1975, argue that Kailasa is the result of knowledge passed down through centuries before the Rashtrakuta dynasty, where building, geometry, and sculpting skills were encoded in mythology and Vasta Shastra philosophy. This is akin to how the Giza pyramids are believed to be the culmination of generations of Egyptian builders, not a single dynasty. Using sound to cut stone? Some ancient Indian studies suggest that Hindu myths describe moving stones with mantras, sacred sounds. In the Vimana Shastra, certain passages refer to vibrational waves dissolving matter. Hypotheses from researchers like Michael Cremo and David Hatcher-Childress propose that ancient people harnessed resonance frequencies to vibrate and separate stone. While lacking strong empirical evidence, experiments with acoustic levitation or resonance levitation show that manipulating light objects with sound waves is possible. A misdated timeline? A bolder hypothesis, proposed by journalist Graham Hancock, suggests that the construction timeline of Kailasa may be incorrect. He posits that Kailasa could be a remnant of a forgotten prehistoric civilization, rediscovered and enhanced by the Rashtrakutas. Similar to how some Egyptian temples have foundations far older than their superstructures, Kailasa could date back over 2,000 years before the 8th century. If true, this would rewrite the entire timeline of Indian architecture. Are we asking the wrong question? Perhaps, instead of asking, how did they do it, we should ask, what are we, with our modern mindset, missing about how they thought? Because for the Rashtrakutas, building a temple wasn't just a technical feat, it was the religious embodiment of geometry, the sanctification of space. They didn't build a temple, they freed the divine from stone. And to do that, they didn't need blueprints. They needed faith, intuition, and a logic we've lost in the age of computers and formulas. Chapter 3. Spirituality, Mathematics, and Divine Coding. If you think the Kailasa Temple is just stone carved into a temple, you've only understood half of it. The other half is the universe condensed into stone. We've marveled at the technique of carving stone from top to bottom. We've questioned the construction timeline. But there's one thing that may be the final key to unlocking the deepest layer of the Kailasa Temple. Why did they build it this way? The answer may not lie in technique, but in religious philosophy, ancient mathematics, and the coded thinking of ancient India. A stone mandala, or a map of the sacred world. In Vasta Shastra philosophy, space isn't merely geometry. Space is energy. A sacred structure must not only be physically sound but also align with the cosmic flow of energy. The Kailasa Temple is a rare example of a structure adhering to the Vasta Purusha Mandala, a sacred spatial diagram encoded from Hindu cosmology, where gods reside in each direction, each square, each level. The temple's center, the abode of Lord Shiva, representing destruction and rebirth. The east, god Indra, king of the heavens, guarding dawn and the main gate. The four corners, deities guarding heaven, earth, and humanity. The main pillars form a 9x9 geometric grid, aligned with the ancient mandala diagram. Every position is deliberate, aligned through astronomy, mathematics, and spirituality. This isn't just a temple, it's the universe set in stone. Researchers from Jawaharlal Nehru University, JNU, New Delhi, surveyed the temple's layout and found remarkable alignments with the golden ratio, 1.618, particularly in the width, length, and height of the central shrine. The distance from the main gate's axis to the Nandi, sacred bull, statue. The ceiling height relative to the distance from the temple's center to the Shiva Linga. These ratios are not coincidental. Their precision is within 5 centimeters on a monolithic stone structure. Even the wall's slight 3-4 degree tilt, according to some scholars, may adjust sunlight to illuminate the shrine during key festival days, much like the Egyptian pyramids align with Sirius. The Kailasa Temple isn't just for seeing, it's for hearing. The main chamber resonates at 80 to 120 Hz, creating a deep, reverberating, haunting effect akin to meditative caves. Acousticians from IIT Kanpur measured and found that the dome and surrounding pillars create an echo chamber like modern theaters, despite lacking sound-dampening materials. Chanting mantras inside produces prolonged, resonant echoes. This aids meditators in entering a trance-like state, losing sense of time. Some temple areas create a voice from the earth effect, as if the gods are speaking. Did the ancients design the sacred sound to be part of the sacred architecture? The Kailasa Temple houses the most Hindu carvings in a single stone block, including Lord Shiva as Natraja, the cosmic dance of destruction, his hands forming a cycle of time. Battle scenes between Lord Vishnu and demons, symbolizing order versus chaos. Statues of Ganesha, Durga, Krishna, Parvati, representing the entire pantheon of Hindu thought. Notably, the Nandi, white bull, statue faces Shiva in the courtyard, offset by 3 degrees. Some studies suggest to avoid directly gazing at the supreme essence, a key religious rule of the time. The Nataraja image isn't just art. It's a coded philosophy of the cycle of destruction and creation, expressed through movement and rhythm. Each statue isn't just for worship. It's a code, a stone allegory, meant for future generations to decipher. When comparing the temple's layout to a human brain map, some symbolists note. The central shrine, Shiva Linga, like the frontal lobe, controlling will. The surrounding corridors, like the hippocampus, storing memory. The statues at the four corners, representing the four aspects of self, mind, emotion, body, intuition. Of course, this isn't a literal brain. It's an ancient metaphor for the cosmic mind. What Hindu philosophy calls Brahman, the ultimate reality at the core of every being. They didn't build a temple for worship. They built it so that humans, upon entering, remember they are not as small as they think. Imagine, you're a devotee back then. You can't read, but you step into the temple. You feel darkness, light, echoes, the coldness of stone. You walk through pillars, corridors, each step a mantra in carved form. You see Lord Shiva standing in a ring of fire, sunlight hitting him precisely at noon. And finally, you reach the center, an empty space, no statue, just a linga, a symbol of what cannot be grasped by mortal eyes. And you understand. This isn't a temple. It's a map guiding you inward. Chapter 4. Why don't we dare to decode it? There are mysteries yet to be solved. But there are also mysteries no one dares to solve. Because if the answer blurs everything we've ever believed, do we have the courage to accept it? Why isn't the name Kailasa in global textbooks listed among the 7 ancient wonders or featured in the world's most famous historical tours? Why is a monumental structure, carved from a massive rock with absolute precision, quietly overlooked, even by the Western scholars who documented it in the 19th century? Is it because it's too remote? Is it because it lacks the aura of Greek or Egyptian empires? Or is it because it doesn't fit what we want to believe about human history? In the late 19th century, when European scholars began studying India through an archaeological lens, they carried 2 major biases. Ancient Indian civilization was mythologized, lacking logic. Great Eastern structures were often attributed to other civilizations, Egypt, Persia, or a hypothetical lost civilization. James Ferguson, despite being the first to analyze the scale of the Kailasa Temple, wrote in a personal letter, Hindu architecture is splendid but lacks the logical order of Gothic or Roman. It's exaggeration, not mathematical thought. Letter to Lord Elgin, 1865. This wasn't just an academic observation. It was a systemic cultural bias, sustained during British colonial rule in India. Acknowledging the Kailasa Temple as a logical, technical, and transcendent feat would mean admitting that ancient Indian mathematics and philosophy matched or surpassed Europe's. And that, in a world divided by civilizational hierarchies, was not easily accepted. The culture of overlooking when history is written by those who don't believe in it. For decades, the rock-cut temples of Ellora were not a focus of international preservation. While UNESCO recognized other Asian heritage sites, Kailasa was quietly acknowledged, without promotion or extensive study. Modern archaeological programs only gained momentum in the 2000s, when young Indians and independent historians began asking, why do we learn about the Colosseum, Acropolis, Angkor, but not Kailasa? Why isn't a monumental rock temple listed among the world's wonders? Imagine you're a modern archaeologist. You believe humanity evolved from primitive to sophisticated, from caves, agriculture, cities, architecture, technology. So how do you handle an 8th century structure? Without blueprints, without machinery, without segmented construction systems, yet achieving architectural precision comparable to modern technology? You'd conclude, they lied about the construction timeline? Another civilization helped them? Or they had logical, measurement, and intellectual capabilities equal to ours today? All are tough choices. And many scholars choose the easier path, avoid mentioning it. It's not because Kailasa is dangerous. It's because it poses a terrifying possibility. Perhaps human history isn't as linear as we teach. Perhaps the blind spots in our historical map aren't unknown, they're ignored. Perhaps knowledge and science once existed in forms we don't recognize, not through formulas, but through intuition and symbolism. A young archaeologist in Delhi told India Today, 2017, if Kailasa is accepted for what it truly represents, we'd have to rewrite the entire curriculum of ancient architecture. And that, no one wants to do. In the age of silicon, AI, and social media, does a silent structure, without Wi-Fi, without electricity, still have a place? Yes. And it's more important than ever. Because Kailasa isn't just a structure. It's a reminder that knowledge can come from cold stone, not screens. That greatness doesn't need new inventions, but focus and faith deep enough to carve a mountain. In the 21st century, as you read, hear, or watch this story, you're not just exploring a relic. You're looking into a mirror. Kailasa is a mirror showing how deeply we've forgotten to listen to the past. We demand blueprints, tools, plans, forgetting that the ancients walked with one thing: faith in the harmony between humanity and the cosmos. And perhaps, the scariest thing isn't that Kailasa is too grand. It's that we're too small to understand why it exists. Thank you for joining this journey to the end. We've walked together through stone steps lost in time, touching a structure not just with our hands, but with our minds and hearts. The Kailasa Temple doesn't demand belief in the mystical, but invites us to ask questions we've long stopped asking. Were ancient humans really just worshippers and stone carvers? Or were they sending coded logic beyond the scope of modern textbooks? Perhaps mysteries like Kailasa don't need complete answers. They just need those brave enough to listen and unafraid of being called vague. If you found this journey worthwhile, please share your thoughts below. It's not just encouragement, it's a way to keep the flame alive for forgotten stories, for stones that speak, and for humanity's memory. We'll meet again in the next mystery. You're not just a viewer. You hold the key. And sometimes, just one right question can awaken an entire civilization that's been asleep.